When we focus entirely on the extrovert itself, we focus on having the experience, living through what is happening, socializing with other people. And this, while integrated with the introverted self, is wonderful. But if you deny the introverted self, you deny the reflection on those events. You deny the reflection on the experience. You deny you're reflecting everything you don't reflect on anymore. It's just an experience that happens, and you don't use it as an ability, as a way to grow. You don't integrate that experience into your life and help it mold you into a better person. Which brings me to something that is probably not going to be too popular with a lot of people, is this idea of alcohol as this extremely dangerous drug that we've just accepted into society and accept all the harm from, although it is a terrible, what it does is this, I don't want to say it's a terrible substance, because the substance itself is nothing but a collection of chemicals that function with your mind in a certain way. But it is just so easy to abuse. But the reason why it's been accepted into our society is because it's viewed as a social lubricant. It's able to bring out the extroverted self in each and every one of us. But through this, the damage it does, such as this anger that people get from it, or the denial. What it does is it denies your introverted self, which is the problem facing our society at whole. That's why it's obvious that this drug functions well with society. We accept the harms of it because it helps function this system of extroversion while denying the introverted. The reason why introversion has been shunned and pushed away is because it doesn't help this system of consumerism that fuels the first world. Well, the Western world. Consumerism is the sole heart of our culture today. Without consumerism, we wouldn't have 90% of our culture. It's what we thrive off of. But what introversion does is it realizes the inner self is much more fulfilling than any materialistic goods could ever bring you. We've gotten into the cycle of seeking this external world. In Buddhism, this is referred to, I believe, as the hungry ghost realm. This metaphysical example would be these ghosts that reside within all of us in this spirit world, or however you want to think of it. I personally think of it as more of a metaphorical view on it. But there's these ghosts with throats so small that nothing can fit through them. So they just need to try to keep eating and consuming, but they don't get any of it. What you need to do when you reach this state of being is realize that nothing from the external world is going to help you. This is where the introverted society fails. You don't have the ability to go back, sit back by yourself in solitude, and just find that thing inside of you that fuels you. That part of you that makes you feel whole again. When we don't have the introverted in society, we reject that notion entirely. We reject the notion that anything inside of us can be fulfilling. It's always that search for the external materialistic goods that'll satisfy us. But as we've seen since the Industrial Revolution, none of that's true. The extroverted world, well, the external world would be a more appropriate way of putting it. It doesn't satisfy us entirely. This materialism, this material world as a whole, I mean, well, trees are great and stuff like that, but this material world as a whole isn't everything that there is to reality. And that's something that the world as a whole is beginning to pick up again. We're beginning to put down this material world once again, since we've had up since the Industrial Revolution, and we're starting to realize that, hey, maybe this isn't all there is to the world. Maybe there's something deeper than what we've been led to believe. This realization that there's more to the material world, well, more to the world than just the material, is what has led to this renaissance of spirituality, this renaissance of introversion coming back into the mainstream. While the counterculture, a lot of people think it died off in the 60s, and a lot of it did. A lot of the late 60s, early 70s sort of revolt against what we've been taught. by our consumer culture as a whole, that revolution, that fire within it, is beginning to rise again. And I don't mean this like, pick up your arms and rise against, fight the power. No, not by any means. Realize that this is a battle that we have within ourselves. It's something that's within all of us that a lot of us tend to just reject, and we always try to blame it on the external world instead of realizing most of everything that we are able to perceive is a reflection of ourselves. So if we look at everything and say, oh, that's bad, that's good, that's okay, that's not, that's just a reflection of our own inner worlds and how we are reflecting and projecting our own views onto everything else. The moment we're able to reflect back on ourselves and realize this interconnectivity within everything is the moment where we find bliss in the moment. We will find bliss and just this joy in existence itself. And the moment we do that, the moment we embrace introversion, again as a whole, is the moment when everything changes. Hello. Now touching on the reason why you probably clicked on this video, do I believe that extroversion as a whole is a parasite to our society? No, I don't. I believe that the integration of the introverted self into our society is necessary unless we want to see the downfall of everything we built. We can no longer survive off of this consumerism that we've destroyed our planet over and keep doing so. This extroverted self is not a sustainable way of existence. If we don't change, we'll have nothing left to be able to change. And that moment, that point of no return, is something we are quickly approaching and a lot of people don't realize. If you're gonna take anything away from this video, anything at all, let it be this: Nocete ipsum, which translates into English as know thyself. As Socrates says, the unexamined life is not worth living. This exclusion of the introspective is not something we can afford to do any longer. We need to embrace extroversion and introversion both wholly as much as we can if we expect to, one, make it to the end of this century, and two, just have a global consciousness where we all get to experience life and truly feel and know what it means to be alive in the short time that we're here. So, I'll wrap it off there, and I hope you enjoyed my rantings in this lovely forest, as I'll be in California soon, so just saying goodbye to now. Until then.